Things are as they are. Looking into the universe at night, we make no comparison between right and wrong stars, nor between well and badly arranged constellations. Alan Watts. Greetings, mortals. I'm your host Simon, welcoming you back to the Library of Gnosis. You just knew I had to open with an Alan Watts quote, because this is heavily inspired by his lecture on the Joker. Enjoy. Since the all is in all, the only enemy the all can have is himself, the right hand and the left hand of God. Let's not forget about the head, which makes it a trinity. God is a cosmic chess player. Since the Godhead is one and singular, the only one he can play against is himself. One big game of hide and seek, as Alan Watts liked to put it. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Isaiah 45:7. When God created the universe, he also created duality, hot and cold, light and dark. These might be called opposites, but in reality they are the same thing. There is just a difference of degree. Everything is dual, everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The Kabbalion. Let us look at the fall of Lucifer, what I like to call the Lucifer experiment. God created Archangel Michael, whose name means he who is like God. He also created another archangel by the name of Samael, whose name translates to God's poison. God has ultimate free will, which means he can do literally anything. And what does he choose to do with his powers? Well, to me, God seems to be a storyteller. He likes creating stories, and the best stories always seem to include drama and conflict. So, the Godhead created a savior, in this case Michael, the king of the angels. He also goes by other names like Metatron or Jesus in his human incarnation. But every good story needs a villain, so he created Samael and gave him the task of accuser, to be a Satan, which is just Hebrew for adversary. Could Samael and Michael be the same character? Well, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter if they are one or two, because their strings are all pulled by the same marionette player. Think of the Joker in your average deck of playing cards. The Joker, much like our dear friend Hermes, can play any other role in the deck. Since God is the cause of time itself, he is also above it. He can be at two different places at the same time. Actually, he is omnipresent, meaning he can be at all places at the same time. So, he entertains himself by playing games. Some are beautiful, others are terrifying. From a position of omnipotence, no thing is really too extreme for him. You might feel like a victim in these games he plays. Leela, as they call it in Hinduism, which translates as the divine play. But you have to remember that there is nothing outside of God, or as the Hermetics call it, the all. So any pain you might endure in this game of life, know that God endures it with you. Every single tear is his too. God gave humans free will, and this created conflict, because every good story has conflict. But any will is really just God's will, because God is the first mind and the only mind. All other minds bow to his will and dance to the tune of his flute, even those you would call evil or dark. If God has ultimate free will, the ability to do anything, he must then of course have the ability to act in a way we would perceive as evil. But remember that extremes meet. God is both the perpetrator and the victim at the same time. All pain is caused by him, and all suffering is experienced by him likewise. It is important to remember Hermes' role here as mediator between opposites. I have tried connecting Hermes to the planet Mercury and to the Sun, but I'm afraid my viewpoint has been a bit too narrow. He is every other planet or power too. He is both the Christ and the Antichrist, Satan and Jesus, Michael and Samael. Let us take a closer look at Samael. Like mentioned, his name means venom or poison of God, and he is an archangel, and is a figure who is the accuser or adversary. Satan, as mentioned in the book of Job, seducer and destroyer. Mashit, as mentioned in the book of Exodus. Although many of his functions resemble the Christian notion of Satan, to the point of being sometimes identified as a fallen angel, he is not necessarily evil, since his functions are also regarded as resulting in good, such as destroying sinners. In the Egyptian belief of the afterlife, they thought that Anubis weighed the heart of man to see if it was heavier than a feather, which represented Ma'at or divine order. And if the heart of the person was heavier than the feather, it was consumed by a terrible beast. Samael is considered in Midrashic text to be a member of the heavenly host, with often grim and destructive duties. One of Samael's greatest roles in Jewish lore is that of the main angel of death and the head of Satan's. Although he condones the sins of man, he remains one of God's servants. He appears frequently in the story of the Garden of Eden and engineered the fall of Adam and Eve with a snake in writing during the Second Temple period. In a single account, he is also believed to be the father of Cain, as well as the partner of Lilith. In early Talmudic and Midrashic literature, he is not identified with Satan yet. Only in later Midrashim he is entitled head of all Satans. As a guardian angel and prince of Rome, he is the arch-enemy of Israel. By the beginning of Jewish culture in Europe, Samael had been established as a representative of Christianity due to his identification with Rome. Samael was first mentioned during the Second Temple period, and immediately after his destruction. He is apparently first mentioned in the book of Enoch, along with other rebellious angels. In Enoch 1, he is one of the watchers who descends to earth to copulate with human women, although he is not their leader, this being Semaiasa. In the Greek Apocalypse of Baruch, he is the dominant evil figure. Samael plants the tree of knowledge. Thereupon he is banished and cursed by God. To take revenge, he tempts Adam and Eve into sin by taking the form of the serpent. He appears further as the embodiment of evil in the ascension of Isaiah, often identified as Melkira, Melk-Ra, king of evil, king of the wicked. Malkira, Malk-Ra, messenger of evil, angel of iniquity. Belkira, Bal-Gir, lord of the wall, or Bechira, Bachira, the elect of evil, chosen by evil. In Exodus, Rabbah, Samael is depicted as the accuser in the heavenly court and tempting to sin, while Michael defends Israel's actions. Here, Samael is identified with Satan. While Satan describes his function as an accuser, Samael is considered to be his proper name. He also fulfills the role of the angel of death when he came to take the soul of Moses, and is called the leader of Satans. To be virtuous, you have to have the ability to do evil too, otherwise you're not making a choice. The title of Satan is also applied to him in the Midrash Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, where he is the chief of the fallen angels and 12-winged seraph. According to the text, Samuel opposed the creation of Adam and descended to earth to tempt him into evil. Riding the serpent, he convinces Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. His role here might be similar to the Islamic idea of Iblis, who refused to prostrate himself before Adam because he consists of fire and Adam merely from dust. The Midrash also reveals Samuel fathered Cain with Eve. In Midrash Conan, he is the ruler of the third hell. Several sources, such as Yalkut Shimoni, describe him as a guardian angel of Esau, relating him to Rome, the one who wrestled with Jacob, the angel who ordered Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, and a patron of Edom. Samael is also depicted as the angel of death and is one of the 7 archangels, the ruler over the 5th heaven and commander of 2 million angels, such as the chief of other destroying angels. According to the apocryphal Gedulat Moshe, the Apocalypse of Moses, the Ascension of Moses, in the Legends of the Jews by Louis Ginsberg, Samael is also mentioned as being in the 7th heaven. In the last heaven, Moses saw 2 angels, each 500 parasangs in height, forged out of a chain of black fire and red fire. And the angels Af, anger, and Hema, wrath, whom God created at the beginning of the world to execute his will. Moses was disquieted when he looked upon them, but Metatron embraced him and said, Moses, Moses, thou favourite of God, fear not and be not terrified. And Moses became calm. There was another angel in the 7th heaven, different in appearance from all the others, and of frightful mind. His height was so great, it would have taken 500 years to cover a distance equal to it, and from the crown of his head to the soles of his feet was studded with glaring eyes. This one, said Metatron, addressing Moses, is Samael, who takes the soul away from man. Whither goes he now? Asked Moses, and Metatron replied, to fetch the soul of Job the pious. Thereupon Moses prayed to God in these words, O may it be thy will, my God, and the God of my fathers, not to let me fall into the hands of this angel. End quote. Hermes is a jack of all trades and a master of all. One of Hermes Trismegistus' titles was actually Master of Masters. If we were in a video game, he would be the character with God mode. He is the closest soul to God, and is the vessel which the Godhead uses to guide his story. He incarnates every now and then to guide his story. Maybe that's why we call it history. Remember that one of Metatron's titles was the Lesser Yahweh. We are on a wild train ride, and he is the conductor. Well, maybe we should call him her instead. Because remember that on the Kabbalistic tree of life, Mercury's Sephiroth is female. It seems not even God himself can make up his mind about his gender. Although I would guess his Sephiroth being female has a lot more to do with him being perfectly balanced in his gender or left and right brain as a god of balance. Well, I think we're coming to the end of this video. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you next one, mortals. May Mercury guide your path.